Hello again, everybody. Todd Michael Putnam here from D&D Creative Table Designs, bringing you another adventure table idea. And this one is Murder in the Shire. Murder in the Shire. And so the players come across, in their travels, they come across the Smoke Valley Shire, of which the mayor is Mayor Morganson. And they are being visited just that day by the fabulous bard troupe known as Edelwin's Entertainment Extravaganza. Being a bard troupe, they do everything overboard, of course. So Edelwin's Entertainment Extravaganza has just reached them that day. They have unpacked all of their stuff, and that is the first day, the day that the players arrive, is the first day that they have opened up and begun actually putting on their show. The hobbits, of course, normally quite quiet and reserved folk, somewhat a little bit frustrated that some of their land gets taken up by the extravaganza, as it were. But they grab their smoke pipes and some ale and some mead, and they decide to see what kind of a show the bards are willing to put on. And Edwin's entertainment extravaganza, of course, has music and singing. And they've got alchemists that sell magical potions, and of course they've got people that are, sword weapons extraordinaire, people that swallow blades whole and throw them back and forth at each other and catch them and juggle daggers and things like that. And of course there's a mistress lady that fortune teller that tells fortunes and reads palms and all kinds of manner of silly things like that. And the first day seems to go well enough, with the exception of Mayor Morganson is not available to partake in the festivities because he claims when they knock on his door to see if he's going to come out that he has grown ill, that his recently departed nephew from Bramblebriar Shire has given him a cold, and so he remains stuck in his residence while the rest of the town enjoys the extravaganza. By the second day, though, the mayor is still not out, and things are getting a little strange. Farmer Anders has gone missing. Nobody can find him when they go to check him out. Even his wife cannot find him. And so Farmer Anders is missing, which is very odd in a quiet little shire town. And but everybody's okay. Maybe he's gone off. Maybe he took a holiday and didn't tell anyone. Very odd that he wouldn't tell his wife, though. So there's some murmurings that are going on a little bit. And then later that evening, when people come to check and see on his wife whether or not he has returned, they find a deed most foul. His wife has been murdered. And perhaps Anders himself, is it possible? Could he have murdered his own wife in the Shire? Such a thing has never been heard of. And so the players begin to interview and find out what's going on. And the whole town is murmuring and mumbling and sending out rumors and stuff about how something could have happened and why Mrs. Anders has been murdered, and how her husband could have possibly done such a thing. It's just unheard of. But things get stranger still when that evening they go and they find Mr. Anders' body stuck in a haystack. And he himself has also been murdered. That's two murders. And obviously it wasn't a suicide, they could tell. Somebody is on a murder spree, and the whole town just immediately goes into an uproar, and they call a town meeting, and they all get together in front of the mayor's office itself, where the mayor finally comes out and listens to what's going on, because there's been a double murder in his shire. And everybody immediately begins to throw the blame on either the bard troupe or the players. It's got to be one or the other. I mean, it can't be anything else. Who else would do such a foul deed? And so Mayor Morganson, who is normally the quiet type, suddenly quite vigorously points his finger at both the players and at the bard troupe and demands that they all leave and get out, that they will not accept this kind of behavior, and whoever the guilty party is, if they find them, they will face halfling justice. When the players talk to the bards, the bard troops say they can't leave. There's no way they can leave, because as long as they leave under a cloud of suspicion, as soon as word gets out that murders happen wherever they went, they'd never work again. that they would lose license to go anywhere, and so their careers would effectively be over. They're staying put. They're not going to leave. And the players can't really leave because it's the same with them as well. Their reputation for being hired, if they get the reputation of being murderers, there's no way they'd never be hired again. So they begin going to the various houses, and they begin interviewing people, the halflings, for what they've seen. And they go and they interview Edwin himself, and to see if there are any criminals that may have been inside the Bard troop. To see if anybody has any criminal history, of which they find none. When they interview all the other halflings, they're looking to see if anybody has a grudge of any of that nature. They can find none. So as they begin snooping around, though, they see something very interesting in the mayor's residence. In the mayor's residence itself, they find that he seems to be quite recovered from this cold of his when he's inside, and he thinks nobody is watching him. And they go snooping around, and they'll find there's yet another body that's in the mayor's house. And when they confront him in his own residence, it turns out that the mayor is not really the mayor. When he was visited by his nephew was actually an Oni, and slew the mayor himself, and just said that his nephew had left, and then assumed the form or the guise of the mayor himself, and then was using the cover of the barge troop to be able to begin maliciously killing people to satisfy his sadistic desires, and knowing that it would be passed off not on a hobbit, but on one of the visiting Bard troop members or on the players. And then in a few weeks' time, after he'd murdered his fill, he would just mysteriously disappear and move on to someplace else. Or maybe he would just murder one of the Bard's troop people and assume their form and exit off with them. But when the players find out that he himself is not the mayor anymore, but actually the Oni, the confrontation begins, and the players begin the fight against the Oni. So that's the idea of the Murder in the Shire. Certainly a lot more role play options. There's all kinds of opportunities to talk to different people, to the different folks in the Shire, have all kinds of whatever minor grudges that there might be, or of course they're going to get brought up. Of course, there's going to be there's going to be racial animosity in that the hobbits couldn't possibly imagine that any of their own folk would be capable of such a thing. So naturally, it must be one of the outsiders. So you get a little bit of xenophobia going on there. You've got the indignant nature of the Bard troop, knowing that their reputations are on the line and that it can't be them. And so they're going to behave that way. But of course, you'd have to talk to each of the various members of the Bard troop and discover what their histories are, and see if you can find any clues. If there's any clues that would direct that possibly one of them could have been it. And then finally, just the ability to see that the mayor himself was not as sick as he had been claiming, and he was quite vigorous about who the people who were probably guilty would be, despite normally being very quiet and subdued fellow. He becomes very, very animated, of course, when he stands out in front of his town hall in front of the group of people, and actually letting them know that, hey, it can't be one of us, it must be one of them, and which is a bit out of character for the mayor. So that's the first clue to start looking at him as a possible suspect. Also, the fact that he just mysteriously got this cold. He claimed he got it from his nephew, but he was just a cold wouldn't normally keep him from going out and just checking out the barge extravaganza. So there's just little cookies there that say, hey, there's something possibly going on. And further snooping around in his residence will, of course, find the body and potentially even catch him back in his normal Oni form if he happens to let his guard down. So that's it. That's the idea behind Murder in the Shire. As far as what it took to do this here, it's a P-Works mat, P-Works gaming mat. These pieces right here are literally just aquarium decorations. All of those. So I've got three, I think, four of the small ones, and then one of the large ones that I use basically as the town hall. And then there's just a whole bunch of 3D printed Bard stuff for wagons and caravans and the stages and stuff and tents. It's all 3D printed. There's some handmade I always like to have some kind of, if it's any kind of a farming community, just have some small smokeweed fields or whatever it is that the halflings grow. And of course, some bushes and trees from Monster Fight Club, and the pond is from Monster Fight Club. And then it's the Whiz Kids here for some of their farming community set. So that's it. Nothing super intense about the build itself. And mostly it's just designed for a very role play session, with of course ending with the big combat when they finally confront the Oni for what it actually is, and its misdeeds in the town. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will be please like or subscribe. Please like or subscribe if you're interested in seeing more content, and I will see you next adventure. Thank you so much. Bye.